In 1899, a Swedish doctor did something that should have ended his career. He walked up to a group of cross-country skiers, pressed his fingers to their chests, and started tapping. No machines, no scans, just his hands, his ears, and a theory nobody wanted to hear. Because back then, a big heart was a death sentence. An enlarged heart meant a diseased heart. Weak, failing, slowly killing you from the inside. So when this doctor, Salomon Henshin, tapped out the borders of those hearts and found they were enormous, everyone braced for a grim diagnosis. Instead, he said something that detonated a century of cardiology. He said skiing builds a heart that can do more work than a normal one. Not a weaker heart, a stronger one, a bigger, better engine. He had just invented an idea that still rules sport today. The athlete's heart. The belief that the biggest heart wins. But I have spent my career taking claims like that apart. And this one always nagged at me. If you measured the muscle inside the greatest endurance athletes on Earth, who would have the biggest heart of them all? The marathon runner? The cyclist? The cross-country skier? Or the rower? And then there is the darker question. The one nobody on a podium wants to ask. What if the biggest heart is not a prize at all? What if, for the athletes who chase it hardest, it is a slow-ticking time bomb? I am Sebastian, and this is the injury breakdown. And before we are done, I will show you the exact moment a champion's greatest weapon turns against him. Let us start at the beginning. Because almost everyone gets this wrong. There is not one way to build a big heart. There are two, and they could not be more different. Picture the endurance athlete. Hour after hour, the heart moves an ocean of blood. Beat after beat after beat. So it gets roomier. The main chamber stretches, like trading a drinking glass for a bucket. Now picture the powerlifter, straining against a loaded bar. Here the heart faces short, violent spikes of pressure. So instead of getting roomier, the walls get thicker. Endurance fills the balloon. Strength thickens the walls. And that split is the key to our whole case. Because the question was never just whose heart is biggest. It is how it got big. So how big are we talking? In one study of almost 1,000 elite athletes, researchers measured every heart they could find. Fewer than 2 in 100 had unusually thick walls. These were not grotesque, bulging muscles. But the chambers? Another story. In a normal adult, the main chamber spans about 50 millimeters. In these athletes, it stretched to 66. Cavernous. And the output is staggering. At full effort, a fit person pumps maybe 20 liters of blood a minute. An elite endurance athlete? Around 40. Double. Each beat fires out almost 3 times what an untrained heart can. Like emptying a wine bottle of blood, with every single beat. So now we know what we are hunting. A huge, roomy, high-volume engine. But which sport builds the biggest one? Suspect number 1. The marathon runner. The most romantic heart in sport. This is the event built on a legend. A messenger who supposedly ran from Marathon to Athens and dropped dead on the spot. Almost certainly a myth, but it is how we see the marathon, the ultimate test of the human heart. So the runner must have the biggest, right? Hold that thought. Suspect number 2. The cyclist. And here we meet maybe the closest thing to a human engine ever built. Miguel Indurain, 5-time Tour de France champion. With numbers that read like a misprint. A resting heart rate as low as 28 beats per minute. Yours is probably between 60 and 80 right now, just sitting there. And at full throttle, a heart that could pump around 50 liters of blood a minute, roughly double a very fit amateur. Cyclists hold those outputs for hours, and it builds some of the largest chambers in all of sport. A serious contender. But our winner? Keep him on the board. Suspect number 3, the cross-country skier. And this is where it gets serious. Skiing is not a leg sport. It is arms and legs, upper and lower body, firing at once, pulling oxygen from nearly every muscle at the same time. A demand on the heart almost nothing else on Earth can match. Elite skiers have been measured in competition, with oxygen levels among the highest ever recorded in a human being. And remember, Henshin tapped on skiers first. His instincts were terrifyingly good. And suspect number 4, the rower, the dark horse. Because the rower is quietly breaking our system. They do both things at once. Every stroke is a violent full-body push against heavy resistance. That is the pressure, the wall-thickening load. But they repeat it, over and over, through endless training. That is the volume, the chamber stretching load, thick walls and big chambers. In one study, the main chamber blew past the clinical limit in 7 out of 10 rowers. They build arguably the most complete heart in sport. The total package. So who wins? The honest answer is better than a clean one. There is no single king. The cyclist owns the biggest chambers. The skier owns the most extreme oxygen demand. The rower owns the most complete build. It is not one suspect. It is a conspiracy of 3. Each one guilty of building a monster heart in a completely different way. And our romantic favorite, the marathon runner? A magnificent heart, but head-to-head, usually not the biggest of the 4. But now, something that should stop you cold. This whole time we have assumed the biggest heart wins. And there is a man who proves that might be a lie. His name is Espen Harald Bjerke, a Norwegian cross-country skier. In the lab, he recorded one of the highest oxygen scores ever measured, nearly double what a healthy young man can manage. On paper, one of the greatest engines in history. So how many World Cup races did this superhuman engine win? Take a guess. The answer is 0. Not 1. Meanwhile, another Norwegian skier, with a similar score, became the most decorated male skier of all time. Bjorn Daly. The engine did not decide it. Skill did. Efficiency. Tactics. Grit. Because in the long run, it is not size that tells. It is quality. And here's the strange part. Most of those record scores were never even published. Some scientists think at least one was leaked on purpose to psych out the competition. Even our biggest legends are a little overclocked. But now we reach the turn, where this stops being a story about winning and becomes a story about survival. Because that same oversized, high-performance heart we have admired this whole time carries a hidden flaw. Here's the paradox. And it is almost cartoonish. For normal people, exercise is one of the best things you can do for your heart. Moderate activity cuts your risk of a dangerous rhythm disorder, called atrial fibrillation, by around 10 to 20%. The curve goes down. Exercise protects you. And then, it bends back up. Push past a lifetime of extreme training. Somewhere around 2,000 hours of hard endurance work. And the protection reverses. Beyond that point, the risk of that irregular rhythm can climb 4, even 5 times higher. Among men who raced a famous ski marathon for decades, more than 1 in 10 developed it. So why would the fittest hearts on Earth misfire? It comes back to everything that made them great. Those huge stretched chambers? The upper chambers stretch too. And over years, they can develop tiny patches of scarring. And that famously slow, powerful resting pulse? A badge of elite fitness. But it can leave the heart's wiring primed to short circuit, stretched, scarred, idling almost too slowly. The perfect recipe for a rhythm to spin out of control. It is a brutal irony. You can build a heart that is one of the most powerful machines in the world, and electrically fragile, at the very same time. Now, let me be straight with you. Because this matters more than anything else I will say. This is not a reason to stop exercising. It is the opposite. This risk shows up only at the extreme edge. Decades of elite-level training. And here is the strangest twist of all. Even the athletes who develop that irregular rhythm tend to have lower rates of stroke and longer lives than the rest of us. Which brings me to my favorite character in this whole story. And he settles the debate. His name was Clarence DeMar. In the early 1900s, he won the Boston Marathon 7 times. 7. A record no one has matched since. But early in his career, a doctor heard a murmur in his heart and gave him a verdict that could have ended everything. Stop running. Your heart cannot take it. DeMar ignored him. He kept racing. Into his 40s, his 50s, his 60s. And as the story goes, the very doctor who warned him his heart would fail died of a heart attack, years before DeMar ever stopped. When DeMar finally passed away, of cancer, not his heart, 2 of the world's top cardiologists examined that legendary heart. And what they found rewrote the rules. His coronary arteries, the vessels that feed the heart muscle itself, were 2 to 3 times larger than normal. A lifetime of running had not worn his heart out. It had remodeled it. Wider, stronger, more open. The very thing he was warned would kill him had made him stronger. So let us go back to where we started. 1899. A doctor tapping on a skier's chest, declaring that the big heart wins. Was Henshin right? Half right. The big heart usually does win. And for almost all of us, it protects us. It adds years. But at the furthest edge of human performance, that same magnificent engine can hide a fault line. The real prize was never the biggest heart. It is the heart built to the right dose. Powerful, but not pushed off the cliff. Because the biggest heart in sport is not one trophy. It is a different masterpiece in every chest. The cyclist's cavern, the skier's furnace, the rower's complete machine, and the heart you build by moving is the heart that keeps you alive the longest. I am Sebastian. This has been the Injury Breakdown, and if this changed the way you see the human engine, I have got a story you need to watch next. Right now, a 19-year-old is about to start the Tour de France, and the last teenager to win it did it back in 1904. So can Paul Seixas's body actually survive 3 weeks against Tadej Pogacar and Jonas Vingegaard? That is the sports science behind the youngest cycling phenom in decades. Go watch it, and keep questioning everything.